What's up, everybody? It's Justin. Welcome to Live Ask Me Anything number 100. Holy mackerel. That's 100 episodes. That's over 100 weeks. It's been on a whole bunch of weeks because every now and then weeks get skipped. I go to different countries or I go to Mexican jail. A lot of weird stuff has happened in the last 2 years. So I've been doing the Clovis Culture podcast for over 2 years now. I'm super excited. I'll make sure this all works right. I'm trying to block that ring light because there's a reflection, because I have a really high budget with all these videos that I do. As you guys know, like I spend a boatload of money on these videos that I bring you, right? But I'm super pumped about AMA 100. The Clovis Culture podcast has been going on for over 2 years now. I have done 100 of these Ask Me Anything episodes. This is my normal Wednesday night AMA, like we are right here, facebook.com/the Clovis Culture, every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. I have done lives from Puerto Rico, from New Orleans and Mardi Gras. I've done them from Norway. I've done them from Chiang Mai, Thailand. I've done live videos in the groups from even more countries than that. I went to 8 different countries just in 2019 alone. So I've spent a lot of time with you guys doing these live videos in a lot of different places. And I am super, super excited to bring you AMA number 100. I remember my kitchen table like right in front of me right now, like sitting at my kitchen table for AMA number 1. I had heard the term on Reddit somewhere, like an AMA means ask me anything. So I did this Ask Me Anything episode just on my own Facebook page and just had my friends come on because I was selling Perfect Paleo Powder at the time, but was not doing any work with clients. And I was like, I'm just gonna answer some questions for my friends. And the next thing I knew, all of a sudden I'm at AMA 100. That's what it feels like. It feels like I blinked and I'm at AMA 100. I had no idea that like AMA would become the most used term in all of Clovis, that Clovis.show would be its own website specifically dedicated to all these AMAs, all my guest interviews. I had an amazing guest interview today with Mateo French. I can't remember his last name. It's so hard to say. But Mateo is the founder of 8 Sleep. And we had a great interview podcast today. I had another podcast last week with Marty Kendall from Optimizing Nutrition. It's blowing my mind that this started with me just answering questions for some of my close friends. And the next thing you know, the rest is history. It's baffling to me that we are here for AMA number 100. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Jessica. What's up, Christy, Tiffany, Joe, Sarah, Ariel, Tammy, Jessica, Kathy, she's tagging people. Awesome. Ariel, all these people. This is amazing. Okay, cool. Artina, what's up? How are you? 100. Whoop, whoop. Yeah, I'm super pumped. And I'm excited about tonight's episode because of the content. So I really wanted to give you really good content on this one, but I just want to let you guys know that these last 2 years have hands down been the most meaningful of my entire life, like, truly. I have learned more about myself and nutrition and fitness and community. It's been huge, business, family, entrepreneurship, than I had in literally my previous 31 years of life combined. It's been crazy. And I also just want to say that in the beginning, I mean, genuinely had no idea that all the knowledge that I had crammed into this big fat head of mine was not common knowledge. I just didn't realize this. And by now, if you've watched any of these AMAs, you know my story, lifelong fitness enthusiast, 17 plus years of lifting weights. And then my niece, Savannah, was born terminally ill. She's having 300 plus seizures a day. That's how I learned about the ketogenic diet. Tried to learn as much as I could to try to help Savannah. I learned all these things in biochemistry and endocrinology and all the different things, right? And went crazy learning about this stuff. And I knew that I probably knew like a little bit more than the average Joe. I was really aware of that. But I didn't really talk about nutrition much because nutrition is a dicey topic in any public situation, as you guys have learned through Clovis. So I wouldn't really talk about it that much, kind of study on my own, was doing my own little paleo thing, whatever. And I had a feeling that I knew some things some other people didn't know. But I'm telling you right now, I never, ever, ever could have imagined the amount of just sheer confusion surrounding health and wellness within the general population. And then when I got into the space and really started talking about nutrition and helping people, I couldn't believe the staggering amount of people that were just straight up lying, just giving really bad information. So they say this in the world of entrepreneurship all the time, where they're just like, if you want to create a product or create a business, find a pain point in your daily life that really bothers you and address it, correct that pain point. That's what Clovis is. So I now have 2+ years of me just sharing my journey with you. My views have changed significantly on some things since 2 years ago. My views have not changed at all on some things from 2 years ago. My fitness has changed. My nutrition has changed. Biohacking has changed. My diet has changed. All these things. And I just share that with you constantly. And this all just comes from my own journey, because when I got into the nutrition space and saw what was really going on, it broke my heart, broke my brain, all at the same time. I just could not understand how fundamentally like misled and confused people were when it came to nutrition, fitness, health, wellness, all of these things. It was really, really staggering to me. So anyway, here we are over 2 years later. I keep looking over here because I haven't done this split screen in a while. So I have like some notes right here, and then I have me. I can see myself, so I can see all of your comments. I don't know what's going to go on the whiteboard today, but I knew for AMA 100, I really wanted to do a whiteboard presentation because these are my favorite. It's like my favorite way of interacting with you guys is doing these lessons in front of the whiteboard. I knew I wanted it to be about a topic that I cared about deeply. I almost did this one on IVF. Spoiler alert, there will be an IVF episode happening at some point, but not tonight, okay? So hold your questions we'll do that another day. But I did want AMA number 100 to focus on a topic that impacts us all. That's ultimately why I decided on this topic. Food is not bad for you. I wanted this to be something that impacts every single living human being. That's why I chose this one, okay? And we're gonna talk about this concept that I've been obsessed with lately, a very simple concept known as original ideas. So what I see in nutrition today that is really painful for me is just this constant parroting. And you guys know this, if you've ever brought up Clovis or anything like that in a family situation or a social setting, it's just parroting, parrot, parrot, parrot. Everyone is parroting things that they've heard from a TED Talk. One more person quotes a TED Talk to me, they're gonna get a headbutt, right? They're quoting TED Talks and they're quoting books and all these things and this and that and this. And I know, I can tell right off the bat that they really have not thought this through and really have not researched this thing. They maybe watched one TED Talk and now they're telling me, verbatim what the TED Talk person told them that they just trust blindly, So that's what we're gonna get into tonight is some of my original ideas, okay? So these are gonna be some of my original ideas, some things that I've talked about with other people, that I've talked about with other influencers and experts, but we're really gonna dig into my overarching message for you that I really want people to get. And that's what we're gonna dig into tonight. That's what AMA number 100 is. Let me look at some of these comments again real quick. Judy made it. What's up, Judy? What's up, Brett? What's up, Nicole? New here, my first AMA. That's amazing. Your first AMA is 100. You're gonna love this one. This will basically give you a rundown of exactly what Clovis is and the way that I see health and wellness, period, right? Jan from Columbus. What's up, Jan? How you doing? AMA 100? Yes, Laura, gonna be awesome. I swung the shit out of some kettlebells today. You would have been proud. What's up, Lisa? What's up, Tammy? All right, cool. So let's dig in here because I don't know how long this is gonna take me, but I'm gonna stick around for you guys for AMAs and everything at the end of this as well. Let me know if it sounds good, looks good, whatever. Click the like button, click the happy button, click the love button, the thumbs up, the smile, yes, boom, 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 all that stuff. The more engagement, the better. That helps me in the Facebook algorithm. Make sure people can see this. You can tag your friends in this. This is a public post, so you can tag your friends. And this topic is gonna be really, really cool. I'm really excited. So without further ado, let's dig in. AMA 100, food is not bad for you. Okay, so like I said, I've been doing this for 2 years. After my journey of 17 years of my health journey, and after 2 years of doing this podcast, 2 years of working with clients, I've worked with over 1,500 clients in the last 2 years. A lot of you are in this room right now that I've worked with, right? I've traveled, as you know, to basically every corner of the globe, all around the world. I've been to prison, that was cool, right? Interviewing world-renowned experts, world-renowned doctors, and literally getting a seat at the table, literal seat at the table, for private conversations with some of the sharpest minds in all of health and wellness and nutrition, okay? So I wanna dedicate AMA 100 to what I believe is the most damaging lie ever told, literally, and that is that food is bad for us. This is a myth that just won't die. Food is not bad for you, okay? Food is good for us. Food is good for you. And I'll take it even further. Not only is food good for us, but lots and lots and lots of food is good for us. Much more food than you think. Now, if you think about it, there is one common theme that seems to go completely unquestioned, no matter who you talk to, and no matter what nutrition camp or dogma they are a slave to. And that unquestioned truth, quote unquote, is that less food across the board is good for us and makes us live longer. Less food, blanket statement, not to be questioned. This is what we're told by all the experts. And I call bullshit. Complete and utter nonsense. I am convinced of this at this point, and I'm going to tell you why. So tonight, I'm going to try to unbreak your brain and rewire your neurons and truly embrace the fact that food is not bad for you. Food is nourishing. Food is the answer to all of our health problems. It should never be feared. It should have never been feared. But what got us here is calories. The calories in, calories out model drilled this falsehood into our heads when the truth is food is not bad for you. Food is good for you. Now, let me explain this. So I tell you food is good for you, okay? So food, we're gonna say food, good. Poison, bad. It's that simple, okay? Food is good, poison is bad. But here's the problem. In Western culture, for some ungodly reason, we have allowed food and poison to be put into the same category. These are considered the same, okay? And this simple mistake changed the entire course of human evolution. Literally changed the human species as we know it. We deformed a species completely inside of 50 years. Yes, over the course of about 10 to 12,000 years, but the last 50 years have been unheard of, unseen in history metabolic dysfunction. Now, I'm going to show you what I mean, and I will detail this all very clearly. I'm going to break this down in a way that a preschool kid can understand. But before I do, I am also going to say something that I've actually been wanting to say for a long time, and I have bit my tongue. And this is one of those things where my stance has really changed on this from 2 years ago when I started AMA 1. I was always the science guy. The science says this, the science says that, the study says this, the study says that, which is what everybody does, which is what the carnivores do, and the paleo people do, and the keto people do, and the vegans do, and blah, 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 blah. So I've really thought long and hard about putting my personal opinion right now after all this research out there, and I'm no longer going to bite my tongue on this, and I'm going to openly express my personal opinion right here and now, and that is that I think all of nutrition science is nonsense. All of it. Virtually useless. I am convinced of this. Keep in mind, I have read an awful lot of nutrition studies. Okay? And I am convinced of this. Now, when I take a step back and I look at the entire field of study as a whole, this nutrition science field of study, it is actually now almost comical to me that anybody thinks they know anything at all about nutrition. And the people who are convinced that they know the most are more lost than anyone else, and their egos are usually the most off the charts egos. Okay? So we're going to dig into the problems that I see with nutrition science. So let's talk about this mess here happen, this food and poison being the same thing because, again, of calories. But the problem is when we talk about calories or specific foods, macronutrients, medications even, really anything that we ingest, the effect of those foods on human health cannot be studied in a vacuum. You have to understand this. You cannot have a myopic focus when it comes to nutrition studies. It's impossible. There are too many variables. And just to drive this point home, let me give you one really basic example that's kind of unbelievable when you think about it. This is just one simple consideration. Let's say you're living in Canada and I give you a banana on an empty stomach and you eat it and I measure how high your blood glucose spikes after eating the banana. We do a little blood draw, how high your blood glucose spikes after eating this banana on an empty stomach. And I record that number. Then I put you on a plane and I ship you off to Colombia, which is a country basically right on the equator. We move you to Colombia. Then we give you another banana, equal size on an empty stomach, you eat it, and I measure how high your blood glucose spikes after eating the banana. Now, particularly depending how long you've been in Colombia when this happens, I can virtually guarantee that the number will be different and probably significantly lower than it was when you ate the banana up in Canada. How can we explain this difference? Same food, same person, vastly different response just by changing the environment, and you're now closer to the sun. So how do we explain the difference? The truth is, if we're being honest about it, we can't. We cannot explain the difference. That's the thing. We can't explain what made the difference happen. You can't pinpoint one single variable that caused that significant difference, okay? So we have sleep, stress, pollution, distance from the sun, your current metabolic health, your genetics, your epigenetics, food combinations, time of day, exercise, estrogenics, immune response to specific foods, the type of laundry detergent you use in your clothes, even down to the deodorant that you're wearing that day. All of these things significantly change how food impacts health, and it's different for everyone. We know this. We know that nutrition is individualized. It has to be, okay? So this is just one example of a banana in a different climate. That's it. Yet the mainstream continues to give us dietary advice as if it's gospel based on these absurd epidemiological studies, usually food frequency questionnaires, which you've heard me talk about. These are completely useless. Again, in my opinion, but this is my podcast and you're here for my opinion, so let's dig in. And the other thing about epidemiology is I'm so tired of people saying this. They say, well, Justin, we can't just dismiss all epidemiology outright because it's not accurate. It's the best we have. I don't give a shit if it's the best we have, if it quite literally and actually by design cannot prove anything at all. That's useless to me. That's it. Just because scientists insist that we value their studies, that doesn't mean I need to value your studies. Sorry, bro. Sorry to hurt your feelings. I know you went to school and stuff. Not interested. Not interested in your epidemiological food frequency questionnaire study. I don't care at all, okay? Now, even in studies that can actually prove causation, which I've taught you guys about this before, like in Bad Science, the AMA Bad Science I'll talk about here, but these interventional trials or randomized control trials, most of these randomized controlled trials cited for things like longevity and like overall health and all that stuff, these are done in mice and worms. It's basically lunacy if you really stop and think about it, okay? So it's really just human beings. This is genuinely what's happening here. I'm not insulting anybody. I'm trying to be as genuine as possible the way that I see it. This is human beings making their absolute best effort to try to understand something that can never, ever be fully understood, okay? I applaud the effort. I'm sure there are good people. But that doesn't mean we actually know anything meaningful from these studies that they're doing. This is not a knock on the people. It doesn't mean that we know anything at all. It's just very difficult for our puny little human brains and our big giant human egos to actually admit that us doing our very best looks a lot like flailing around helplessly for decades and getting exactly nowhere. At the end of the day, Mother Nature trumps us no matter how advanced we think that we get. Now, as the incredibly well-respected, someone who I respect very much, Dr. Peter Attia once said, we all know that nutrition science is bottom of the barrel science. It's just the best we've got. And he's thought of as one of the top minds in the industry. He's literally thought of as one of the top minds in the industry. My podcast just stopped recording. Uh-oh, I'll have to edit that. No big deal. So if we know that nutrition science is bottom of the barrel science, there's a ton of problems with it, like I just pointed out to you. So let's dig in. Let's dig into the science of medicine. And I want to briefly just touch on published science, published studies as a whole, but particularly I'm going to look at the field of medicine, which is actually far simpler than nutrition science. That's the thing, far simpler, and it's still a mess, okay? So we're going to jump into some of the results that I've highlighted in previous AMAs. I've done a ton of AMAs on the absurdity of these scientific claims and stuff. So if you want to, just a couple that I wrote down here for you is you can go deeper in this, on this in AMAs number 23, Depression, a Second Opinion, AMA number 30, which is called Bad Science, where I focus on this exclusively. Number 55 is called Doctor Recommended. It just harps on how little doctors know about human health and nutrition. And then you can check out my interviews with world-renowned experts like Dr. Anthony J, Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Paul Saladino, Rob Wolf, all these guys. We dig into this a lot on all those podcasts, so go check those out too, okay? Now, in those episodes, you'll find that I really like to cite findings from the Cochrane collaboration. And the Cochrane collaboration is a London-based network of more than 31,000 researchers from more than 130 countries, which conducts the world's most thorough independent analysis of healthcare research. This is all of healthcare, okay? And their findings will shock you. I'll just highlight a few of them for the sake of time here. They found that prescription drugs are the third leading cause of death in America after heart disease and cancer. And they also showed that their review of conventional medicine practices showed that only 38% of all treatments were shown to be beneficial or even likely beneficial. They also said, this is a huge number, 62% of all practices were shown, these are medical practices, 62% of all conventional medicine practices were shown to have negative consequences or, quote, no evidence of effect. Now, no evidence of effect in layman's terms literally means they don't work. They are useless, okay? And can be less than useless because they can actually be harmful. So let's soak that in for a minute. 62% of conventional medicine practices either do nothing or can hurt you. I really, really want you to think about this 62% number. Think about this the next time you spend your hard-earned money at a walk-in clinic because you've had the fucking sniffles for 24 hours. I really want you to think about that, okay? Keep this number in your head. Now, I'm going to continue. Another expert, this guy's name is Dr. Richard Horton. Richard Horton is the editor-in-chief of Lancet. Lancet is a peer-reviewed medical journal and is among the oldest, most prestigious, and best-known general medical journals in the world throughout all of history. And this guy's job is basically making sure that what is published in this medical journal is accurate. And Horton himself stated that all of the published research is unreliable at best, if not completely false. So let me just repeat that for you. All of the published research is unreliable at best, if not completely false. And he goes on to say, quote, the case against science is straightforward. Much of the scientific literature, perhaps half, may simply be untrue, afflicted by studies with small sample sizes, tiny effects, invalid exploratory analysis, and flagrant conflicts of interest, together with an obsession for pursuing fashionable trends of dubious importance. Science has taken a turn toward darkness. Let's keep going. The Mayo Clinic Proceedings. The Mayo Clinic Proceedings are a monthly peer-reviewed medical journal that has been around since 1926. And a study published in the Mayo Clinic Proceedings in 2013 confirmed that 40% of all current medical practices should be thrown out, outright, gone, should not be allowed to be practiced on humans. 40% of all current medical practices should be thrown out. Sounds a lot like the findings from the Cochrane collaboration that 62% of all these medical practices have no evidence behind them and are likely not beneficial. So, if we have all these staggering results, 40% of all practices should be thrown out, 62% is shown to have no benefit or maybe a negative benefit. How can we have all these staggering statistics on healthcare research from some of the most well-respected, unbiased organizations in the world telling us that the scientific research of medicine is basically a massive failure? And yet, we still take nutrition advice from that same medical mainstream. That same medical mainstream. We still take nutrition advice from that same medical mainstream, even with all this horrific data for the rest of healthcare research. Now, this is especially crazy when we consider that nutrition studies are astronomically worse than pharmaceutical studies. This is group madness. Nutrition is even harder to study. Nutrition is probably astronomically harder to study than conventional medicine. And we're still doing this. The group madness, this is the blind leading the blind. And the problem is the people who seem to be the most oblivious to this common sense, right? Maybe I can see this because I use psychedelics. I don't know why these people can't see it, but the people who seem to be the most oblivious are the ones with the fanciest credentials because they are the most indoctrinated. That's what we need to understand here. Sure, these people have fancy, impressive credentials, but that does not mean that what they were taught is accurate. Doesn't mean it was ever accurate. It doesn't mean it's still accurate. Sorry, evidence-based zealots. You may have crammed a whole lot of incorrect information into your fat heads. Swallow your pride and admit the possibility of this. I love when my mind is changed by data. I love it, okay? Now, throughout all of human history, what I want these zealots to remember is that throughout all of human history, the scientists of the day ruled with an iron fist and were certain that they knew more than any other humans ever before in history. They were the smartest humans to ever walk the earth. Even when those scientists knew that the earth was flat, they believed this. Even when philosophers were literally being put to the death for even suggesting that the earth revolved around the sun. Even when the most cutting edge medical interventions were bloodletting and leeches, those scientists were just as convinced that they were 100% correct as the scientists in the year 2020, okay? This is why when guys like Paul Saladino come out, who are super fucking brave, by the way, to come out and say, hey, maybe this entire system is wrong. Maybe plants are not good for you. Now, I'm not a full-blown carnivore. You guys know this, but I'm giving you an example. Paul is someone who's willing to stand up and say, we might have this whole thing wrong. By the way, I have the same medical credentials that you do, and I still think we might have this whole thing wrong. That's bravery. That's original ideas, everybody. The world needs more original ideas. We need to stop following blindly. That's how we got here, to 85% of the population being fat, sick, and nearly dead. We got here by following blindly, okay? Let me look at some of these comments, see if there's anything I need to dig into real quick, and then we're going to jump into why people are afraid of food. Hey, Tribe, what's up? My podcast keeps dying. I might have to pull the audio from Facebook, but that's no big deal. Oh, good. Seeing I just ate a pound of grass-fed beef and 4 pasture-raised eggs. I had something very, very similar just a couple hours ago, but I finished eating today about 5 o'clock. What else we got? Destroyed a pound of salmon, about 12 ounces of broccoli. Killing it, Joanne. That's awesome. Killer. Thank you for tagging people, Michelle. That's awesome. Chicken livers. Love chicken livers. They're great. Beef liver. Great. I love chicken hearts as well. Janelle, yes. Warning. Language. Look past the language. That's not the fucking point. Look into the content, okay? Eli, I love you, Justin. I'm your biggest fan. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that, man. Finally, someone willing to tell the truth. Here we go. Yeah, Tabitha, the information that I got in my nutrition classes. Remember, guys, I had 3 different certifications in this, right? And they were all nonsense. All of them, okay? I'm a certified nutritional therapist, certified specialist in sports nutrition, certified specialist in fitness nutrition. All bullshit. Sorry. Just crazy, all right? So let's dig in. But my real sciences class have real info. Yeah, cool. Maybe they do. All right. So I want to dig into why people are afraid of food. I forgot how hot it is up here with these lights and everything. It's really hot. I think I'm going to shut down the podcast here, and I will just pull. I'm going to have to just pull the audio from the Facebook Live because this is like overheating my system. So I don't want that to shut off. All right. Anyway, we got time. I make the rules, right? Let's dig in. Why are people afraid of food? So we went through all the healthcare, the science, the published research, and all that, and how much trouble that can get us into. But now let's talk specifically why people are actually afraid of food. And that is because of calories. The calories in, calories out model. That's why. We have all, and everyone here, every one of my Clovis clients, you all came to me on day one. I know where you were at. Never forget that shit. Remember where you come from. I remember where I come from. And every single one of you is probably still afraid of food and was terrified of food when you got to me. This is because of the calories in, calories out model. That's why. We blindly accepted that eating less, just blanket statement, eating less calories is the way to better health. But I can tell you, again, I have worked with over 1,500 clients in just the last 2 years alone. Every single one was malnourished. Every single one has been malnourished, I assure you, with 100% certainty. Overfed, perhaps, yes, probably actually eating too many total calories, overfed, perhaps, but extremely malnourished. Because their entire lives, they have been following doctor's orders of the food pyramid. And then when they decide they want to get healthy, the only way they know how to do that is to eat less food overall. So I was eating the food pyramid, probably eating too many calories, sure, but I was eating the food pyramid and I was fat, sick, and nearly dead. Then I decided to get healthy. So I just decided all food minimized. I'm just going to eat less food, blanket statement. Now what happens is using the food pyramid, the majority of your daily caloric intake is already processed grains and refined starches and all these things, right? Then you also reduce the overall amount of food eaten. And this is now a deadly combination because it ensures that you are under eating and malnourished. Because now easily over 70% of what you are eating is processed foods with virtually no nutrients, and you're not eating enough food overall. So this is now compounding malnourishment, lack of total food, and also massive lack of total nutrients. This is terrible, okay? Because why? What are nutrients? Talk about nutrients all the time, macronutrients, micronutrients, those pesky little buggers that are responsible for every single activity in every single cell of the entire human body. Could be just a little bit important, don't you think? But we're afraid of them. Eat less of them. That's good for you, right? Here's how this happened. I'm going to introduce a term to you that you may have heard me use in previous AMAs. And also, I will shout out to Rob Wolf. I freaking love Rob Wolf. The dude's amazing. And he was the first one that introduced me to this particular term, and I love it. So Let's make sure I can spell correctly. Spelling test, Justin. This term is a species-appropriate diet, okay? So we're going to talk about a species-appropriate diet. Now I'm going to outline this with longevity studies and something called rodent chow. So if you've read books like Lifespan by David Sinclair or any of the biohacker books or whatever on longevity, or listen to podcasts or whatever, these longevity researchers, they have a theory about extending lifespan in humans. When they have a theory about extending lifespan in humans, they will test it in animals, namely lab mice. Now, this is a good bet because about 99% of genes in humans actually have counterparts in mice. We're not 99% identical. I think there's only about maybe 80% of those genes that are actually identical, and then a few of those are, anyway, 99% of genes in humans have counterparts in mice. So researchers will test things like high fat versus high carb, total caloric intake, fasting, intermittent fasting, on and on and on, all these different things on mice. But the kicker is, here's what nobody thinks about and nobody tells you. These studies all use something called rodent chow for food. So I promise you, nobody is going out in nature and gathering the exact foods that wild mice would eat scurrying through the forest, and they're not creating an environment similar to the environment they would be in out in the forest. Nothing about this is natural. Now there's a guy named Matthew Ritchie. Matthew Ritchie is the science director of Research Diets, Inc. This is a company that literally designs and sells food for lab animals. His entire job is creating the food that lab animals eat. And this guy stated, quote, "In rodent chow, there's corn and wheat and soy and oats and animal fat from sometimes sources you don't know. There are phytoestrogens, heavy metals. There could be pesticides," end quote. What? Corn, wheat, soy, oat, chemicals, pesticides, phytoestrogens. Sounds to me that this is exactly what mice would be eating if they were living in nature, right? Sarcasm. Got it. Now, another expert, Craig Warden, who studies the genetics of body fat accumulation at the University of California, Davis, stated that of 35 papers that involved feeding mice a high-fat diet, only 5 used controlled diets that were identical, save for their fat versus carbohydrate ratio. He went on to say, quote, "More often than not, the authors do not provide information about diet composition in the paper, and even worse, do not provide enough information for me to determine diet composition by myself," end quote. And again, another guy, one of the most famous scientists of all time, Richard Feynman, stated, quote, "A laboratory mouse lives on carbohydrates. Their normal diet is not like a normal diet for humans," end quote. Now, on top of this, when we talk about these high-fat studies, high-fat rodent chows are created for mice usually using hydrogenated vegetable oils to up the calories from fat. Hydrogenated vegetable oils are known carcinogens, cancer-causing agents, also known to significantly impact epigenetics in animals. Again, seems like a good option for studying health in animals, right? Again, sarcasm, kind of my thing. As you can see, not a scrap of food being fed to these lab mice, not a scrap, even remotely resembles any food that they would ever consume in nature, ever, AKA a species-appropriate diet. This is not a species-appropriate diet. You cannot study health without a species-appropriate diet. It doesn't make any sense, okay? So not only that, I would argue that everything they're feeding these mice is straight up toxic. It's actively damaging their metabolism and killing them. And this is only talking about the food ingested, okay? So this says nothing about the environment, the fact that they're not running around in the woods, they're not digging holes and scurrying through tunnels, they're not getting dirt all over their face, eating dirt, drinking spring water. The microbiome of these lab mice could not be more different from mice in a natural environment. This is insane. But what has been the result of all this lab mice data? Well, the result is scientists from around the world for decades have been preaching caloric restriction will increase our lifespans significantly. Just eating less calories, blanket statement, will, without a doubt, increase our lifespans significantly, while citing nothing but lab mice and worm studies. And if there's one thing in nutrition that nobody is questioning right now, Again, this dogmatic belief is that eating less is unquestionably good for us. And I think it's nonsense. I reject it outright. And hey, this is just my opinion, and I'm going to try to convince you of my opinion right now. That's what I do here, but I'm going to explain my reasoning. I'm going to call this a rodent study thought experiment, okay? So I'm just going to do a thought experiment that I'm making up here. And I want to be clear, I want this to really make sense for you, so I'm going to use really simple numbers just for the sake of argument. These numbers make no sense, but they'll make sense in the context of humans, but they won't make sense in the context of mice because you would never need to feed a mice this much food, but I'm using people numbers for calories so that the example will feel similar to you, okay? So here's what we're going to talk about. We have 2 mice in this imaginary study. So mouse number 1, mouse number 1 gets 2,000 calories per day for its entire life. Mouse number 2 gets 1,500 calories per day for its entire life. Now, let's say at the end of this study, mouse number 2 increases lifespan by 15%. Mouse number 2, all things controlled for, the same genes in the mice or whatever you want to do. A lot of times they actually control for their gut microbiome. They make a false synthetic gut microbiome, right? So mouse number 1 gets 2,000 calories. Mouse number 2 gets 1,500 calories and lives 15% longer. So what happens here? Hooray! Everybody celebrates. This is a massive success. This is incredible. A giant breakthrough in the field of longevity. CNN, headlines, boom, here we go. And nobody seems to think about the fact that these mice are eating a diet that is 100% toxic sludge. 100% toxic sludge. So what did this test actually prove? Did this test prove that eating less is beneficial, or did the test just prove that eating less fucking toxic sludge is beneficial? What? What is it? Okay, so less calories equals beneficial, or is it simply less toxins equals beneficial? Which one? How do you do a study like that and decide that it's the total calories that have anything to do with what has happened here? How? How do we not see this? How do the brightest minds in the world not tell you this? And then issue blanket statements like caloric restriction will make you live 15% longer, right? I think you see my point here. And the problem is, once you see it through this lens, you can never unsee it. Trust me. Trust me. I wish you could walk around in my mind for one day what it's like for me walking around in standard society. Once you see this stuff, you cannot unsee it. And everything you've ever learned about nutrition starts to unravel. And every time somebody talks to me about counting calories, my soul dies a little bit, right? So I want to touch again on environment briefly. There was another study done, I probably talked about this in other ANAs, I know I have. There was another study done about the addictiveness of cocaine. So they took these mice and they put them in a cage, and they gave them food and water. There was a water dispenser, there was a liquid cocaine dispenser. And what happened? Well, the mice hit the liquid cocaine dispenser over and over until they died. The headlines were conclusive. Cocaine is so addictive, animals will choose it over food and water until they die, all right? Those are the headlines, blanket statements. One brilliant researcher saw through the absurd holes in this test, and he set up a new one. What he did was he built essentially rodent Disneyland. Built a beautiful environment with that rodent dreams are made of, right? There's plenty of other mice to play with. There's spinning wheels and mazes and activities to pass the time, abundant food and water, and of course the cocaine dispenser. Now what happened in this next study? Well, what happened was the mice hit the cocaine dispenser once and then never ever went back to it again. So again, what did this study prove? Did the study prove that cocaine is so addictive that everybody will choose it over food? Or did they just prove that cocaine seems like a really good idea when you are suicidally depressed because you live in the worst possible environment with no contact with other creatures? This would be like putting a human in solitary confinement for years, promising them that they will never see another human again as long as they live, and then handing them enough cocaine to overdose on. It does not take a brilliant person to see how this stuff is happening, everybody. Really? Let's think about this. So if we move on to human studies, I want to dig into where we've gotten into trouble in human studies. I'm running out of time here. Let's do a brief history of this, okay? I'm going to fly through this stuff now. So humans have been eating a diet consisting of meat and vegetables, whole foods, for about 3 million years. This is what I personally define as the paleo diet. And then the advent of agriculture happened some 10 to 12,000 years ago. This shifted the diet from mostly meat and some veggies to mostly refined processed carbohydrates, which had never happened before throughout all of human history, completely new. Now, fast forward 10 to 12,000 years, we didn't even understand what vitamins were until 1912. The electron microscope wasn't invented until the 1950s. Most of your parents are older than the electron microscope. Please understand this. When you think scientists are some fucking godlike creatures, the electron microscope wasn't invented till after your parents were born, okay? Now, the nutritional needs of animal cells in culture, this is like in vitro studies, right? These weren't even defined until 1955, meaning we knew nothing. We knew nothing at all about how cells and mitochondria worked prior to this time. We knew nothing. We didn't start seriously studying the role of nutrition in health until the late 80s and early 90s. So the vast majority of cited nutrition science we have was actually conducted post-2001, less than 20 years old. By the time significant nutrition science was being conducted, the standard American diet consisted of about 70% processed foods, which it still does today, mostly processed vegetable oils, grains, and sugar. And it had been that way for over 50 years, everybody. This sounds a lot like toxic sludge being fed to lab mice, doesn't it? Not to mention, at this point, we've now been eating grains for over 10 to 12,000 years, and we have significant anthropological data showing a steady decline in our overall health and even skeletal structure shrinking since the advent of agriculture and switching to a mostly grain diet. So what does this mean? I want you to think about this for a second. This means that 100% of nutrition science has been conducted on the most unhealthy version of the human species in the history of the world. Literally, we are studying humans the same way that we study mice, in an unnatural environment, stress beyond belief, jobs without purpose, solely to scrape by, living mostly in isolation, without a strong sense of community, with a belly full of toxic sludge day in and day out. These are the subjects of our nutrition science studies that are meant to give us data to tell us how to live our healthiest lives. We have never been able to study healthy human beings eating a species-appropriate diet because these people haven't really existed since the advent of agriculture more than 10,000 years ago. And we've only had real nutrition science for less than 20 years, a couple of decades, right? And then people love to say, well, there's some indigenous tribes that are still around today, and we find them, and they don't have Western disease, and they have a high carbohydrate diet. Or they'll say, like, the Catawbans, right? The Catawbans, they're extremely healthy, and their diet's made of 70% carbohydrates. But again, these scientists, instead of examining whether or not those carbohydrates are species-appropriate foods or the countless other lifestyle variables that make these people so healthy, the headlines will read, want to be healthy? Get 70% of your calories from carbohydrates. And then this basically gives everybody a hall pass to go out and eat American carbohydrates, which are nothing like what the Catawbans are consuming. And not to mention, again, our environment is toxic compared to the environment of Catawbans. So you see how just completely dishonest all this is. It's completely dishonest. This is so simple to me that it's baffling that anyone takes any of this shit seriously anymore. But don't send me another fucking nutrition study. I don't want to read it. I don't want to. Until we figure out how to do stuff better, I'm not really interested. We are smarter than this as a species. We have to be. We should have the critical thinking skills to see through this nonsense. But the cowards, I will say that again, the cowards in the evidence-based mainstream who attack guys like me because I like paleo will always hide behind statements like, well, show me the studies. Show me the studies on paleo. Show me this. Where are the studies on Clovis? They know they're safe making these comments because those studies will never be conducted, and they know it because there's exactly zero financial incentive for anyone to spend millions and millions of dollars on studies just to prove that eating a species-appropriate diet is healthier than processed foods. Quite the opposite. If we did those tests, it would actually crush the big food companies. It'd be a big problem for them. That's the thing. So I want to drive this home with another point, and then I will take questions and comments and stuff. I just want you to remember that food is good for you. Food is not bad for you. So let me give you an example. If we take this same exact concept up here, right? So we're going to say, actually, we're going to make both people eat 2,500 calories. We're going to do a caloric surplus study, okay? So let's say I'm going to go crazy and say everything's controlled for. This is a thought experiment for you. Two people, identical twins, same genetics, same DNA, same starting metabolic health, same baseline metabolic health on two separate diets, right? So number one gets 2,500 calories a day. They eat nothing but 2,500 calories per day of strawberry Pop-Tarts every day for a year. And the other person eats nothing but 2,500 calories of grass-fed ribeye steak every day for a year. Their activity is controlled for, let's just call both of them sedentary. That's one variable out of the way. They're both sedentary. We do a comprehensive blood draw on both of them before starting this experiment. Now, I want you to understand, 2,500 calories is absolutely a caloric surplus, aka too many calories, for most people. I kicked my ass today, literally did this massive workout with a 70-pound kettlebell and then did demand training on top of that, and I probably ate 2,100 calories today, okay? 2,500 calories is a significant caloric surplus for most people. But what happens at the end of this year, okay? So both will probably have gained weight, right? So both people probably will have gained weight, and people will go, oh my God, this proves ribeyes are as bad as Pop-Tarts. It's all about the calories. No, because one of them, Pop-Tart guy, is going to gain a boatload of body fat, and the other one, ribeye guy, is going to gain overall body weight, but he's actually going to gain lean mass. He will literally gain muscle, sedentary, eating 2,500 calories a day of ribeye. Why? Because it's next to impossible. It's not completely impossible. It's next to impossible for the body to store protein as body fat. And this surplus, caloric surplus of amino acids and the complete lack of carbohydrates, this person's going to gain probably overall body weight, maybe. I'm not even convinced that they will. But if they do, it's going to be lean mass. Pop-Tarts guy is going to gain nothing but fat. So body weight is not the same. We got to talk about body composition. Calories aren't the same. Body composition, not the same. Okay? So the caloric surplus of ribeyes wins in the body composition department. Then we draw their blood. The ribeye eater, no insulin resistance, no inflammation, cholesterol levels would be healthy, most likely a CAC score of 0, which is your coronary artery calcium score, the huge risk factor for cardiovascular disease, probably 0 for this guy, no risk. I'd say low fasted blood sugar, low fasted insulin, a beautiful hormone panel. Again, guys, I've seen a lot of blood work. I've worked with over 1,500 clients in the last 2 years, okay? The Pop-Tart eater, on the other hand, after a year, is gonna have significant metabolic dysfunction. They'll be insulin resistant, if not full-blown type 2 diabetic. Their inflammation markers will be awful. Their cholesterol markers will be awful. Their CAC score will be higher than when they started. They'll have higher fasted blood glucose, higher fasted insulin, disrupted hormones. Long story short, the caloric surplus of Pop-Tarts, right? We'll call this guy Pop-Tarts. The caloric surplus of Pop-Tarts is killing the subject, literally, putting them at a higher risk of all the leading causes of death in Western society. But again, they both gained weight. They were both on a caloric surplus. It would be all too easy to look at this the same way we looked at all the other studies I just told you about, the imaginary things I'm coming up with here. And we would just say, the scientists would say, clearly a caloric surplus is bad. Both people gained weight. All calories are equal. This would be a wildly inaccurate description of what has happened here. How can people not see this? I don't get it. I really don't get it. How can people not understand that real food is nourishing and these processed frankenfoods that do not exist in nature are absolutely toxic to humans? Now, sure, the scientists can come at me. They probably will come at me when I post this, and we can dig into all the teeny tiny variables, the nitty-gritty details of this experiment, how cardiovascular disease progresses, how hormone disruptions happen, blah, 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 blah. Or we could simply say species-appropriate foods nourish human health. Non-species appropriate foods harm human health. Boom. That's it. That's literally everything you need to know about nutrition, everybody. I could close the doors on Clovis and go chill on a beach in Thailand if everyone would just get this lesson through their skulls. That's it. That's literally it. Species appropriate diet. So I want to talk to you guys about, we must redefine food. Food needs to be its own category, okay? So when we say food, moving forward, we need to understand that food should only apply to a species-appropriate food, a species-appropriate ingredient, species-appropriate food, right? There should be no exceptions to this. And to be clear, I'm not just targeting the horrific processed foods like Twinkies and Doritos and Cheetos or whatever, the standard American diet. I am talking about all processed foods here. I talked about this in AMA number 99. Orange juice shouldn't be food. Capri Sun shouldn't be food. Wheat, corn, soy, sugar shouldn't be food. Dairy shouldn't be food. Selectively bred fruits that are shipped in from a different country and somehow available in every climate year-round should not be food. Your precious almond butter and dark chocolate shouldn't be food. Pop-Tarts and candy shouldn't be food. Keto-friendly fudge brownie what the fuck shouldn't be food. Okay? Shouldn't be food just because it's low carb. Only food should be food. Food is good for you. You should not fear food. You should eat plenty of food. You should fear toxic sludge and eat as little of it as possible. Do you see how absurdly simple this is? But the idea that food is bad for you is so deeply ingrained in the subconscious of America, particularly females. Females, listen to what I'm going to say to you. Listen up. Particularly females. This happens all the time. I get clients, this person could watch all 100 of my AMAs. They could listen to all of my interviews with world-renowned doctors and nutrition experts. All of us talking about and citing over and over and over that red meat is a superfood. It is not dangerous, that eating a lot of food is not dangerous if you choose the right foods. They can see the incredible Clovis transformations, my 1,500 clients, and after all that, still somehow look at a 16-ounce ribeye on a plate and think to themselves, well, eating all that meat just can't be good for me. This is collective madness, everybody. Collective madness. And to be clear, to piggyback on what I talked about in AMA number 99, I'm not saying you can't ever indulge in processed foods. Like, I love grass-fed butter. I cook a lot with grass-fed butter. Sometimes I use MCT oil, keto-friendly snacks. I had a perfect keto cookie dough bar yesterday. It was freaking delicious. I love those damn things, right? Some super dark chocolate, Taza, wicked dark chocolate. I'm not saying you can never eat these things again. I'm saying you should do so with your eyes wide open. Do not fool yourself into thinking that these are natural foods. They simply are not. I literally manufacture supplements for a living, and I'm telling you this because I hate when people are full of shit, and I'm not full of shit, okay? The name of Clovis, the name of the game of Clovis has always and always will be self-awareness. When I eat a keto-friendly processed food, I am not fooling myself. I am making a choice, eyes wide open. Even though these quote unquote healthy versions of processed foods are not straight up toxic, not by any means, like the standard American Cheetos and Doritos and everything, they're not even close. These aren't toxic. But you have to understand the body still doesn't know how to handle them the way it knows how to handle foods that we've been eating for millions of years. We didn't evolve to eat keto-friendly snacks for the last 3 million years. The body doesn't really know what to do with these things. Even the products that I approve by Clovis standards, if they're processed, they are not technically species appropriate. So this includes the ghee, the butter, the MCT oil, the almond butter, the almond milk, the everything, right? All this processed stuff, because it never would have been possible to consume these without modern technology. They're giving you what's called hyperphysiological doses of concentrated extracts. Like, do you have any idea the amount of work, how impossible it would be for somebody to consume 2 tablespoons of pure C8 MCT oil in nature? Just when you get off this video, Google what C8 MCT oil is and how it's made, and then write me an email explaining me how you could ever find that big of a dose in nature, ever. Cavemen aren't brewing coffee, everybody. We have to go into these things with our eyes wide open, okay? So same goes for a few tablespoons of butter or almond butter or literally any other processed food you can think of. Now, again, I'm not saying never eat them. You will never get me to give up coffee. I did it for 6 weeks for my strict carnivore experiment, and I went right back to black coffee, and I love it, and I will drink it forever, and I will probably drink dry farm wines a little bit, biodynamic wine forever. I love those freaking Keto Perfect bars. I'm not going to give up Taza Wicked Dark Chocolate, but don't fool yourself. All I am saying is do not fool yourself here. That's it. Stop pretending that these are as good for you as eating whole foods that are species appropriate. They simply are not, period. Okay? So in conclusion, I want you to understand that nutrition, this is a terrible thing for a nutrition coach, whatever you want to call me, to say, but nutrition is the simplest thing in the world. Yet we have all these promises from so many different things. countless fitness protocols, countless nutrition programs, tens of billions of dollars spent every year on supplements, ridiculous superfood products that were discovered in the jungle and will melt away body fat. These freaking MLM companies that I can't stand. Now we have intermittent fasting, prolonged fasting for longevity, comically bad nutrition documentaries, endless podcast debates that people just won't shut up about, literally an entire culture built around the obsessive pursuit of health, and we are literally the most unhealthy country on planet Earth. How do you explain this, everybody? All of the things I just mentioned exist for one reason and one reason only, because we don't eat a species-appropriate diet. That's it. It is truly that simple. So you can be the healthiest version of yourself. I'm going to teach you right now. This is how to be the healthiest version of yourself. If every single time you're about to eat something, you ask yourself 2 questions. I'm going to give you, this is your evaluation. If you evaluate the decision to eat based on 2 criteria. One, is it species appropriate? 2, is it nutrient dense? So if every time you eat food, you just want to be the healthiest person on planet Earth, number 1, is it species appropriate? Number 2, is it nutrient dense? Am I optimizing for nutrient density? Hint, 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 I've done this for you. It's called Clovis. It's called the Clovis Approved Foods List. We've talked about this before. I have products, brands and products in the approved foods list that fall into the category of if you must. If you literally just take the whole food section of the Clovis approved foods list, it is optimized for being species appropriate and nutrient dense. Both of those things are optimized for. That's your answer. That's your health and wellness, everybody. I've done it for you. Okay? That's literally it. That's it. It doesn't get much simpler than that, everybody. Okay? So that's what I want you guys to understand, is that you literally, if you want to define what species appropriate is, because people will bitch about this like crazy. Well, there's proof that some of our ancestors ate grains every now and then, like in wintertime, blah, blah, blah. There's fossil records that show this one particular tribe once ate grains that was 5% of their total calories. The evidence is clear, blah, 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 right? This is crazy. So I want you to prove to me that a food was eaten, let's just be generous and say, for the last 250,000 years. Let's call it species appropriate if it's been eaten for the last 250,000 years. I could be more strict on this and say 1 million years or 3 million years. Let's just go with 250,000 years. Why not, right? So you don't get to say these fossil records, they ate grains once upon a time, because you have to realize that what these people are doing when they say shit like that, well, we have this one tribe once upon a time that ate some grains in wintertime. When you realize that this is your own ridiculous human ego desperately searching for a way to validate your decision to constantly include processed grains in your diet, this all becomes easier when you can just admit that. Literally just admit that you like to eat bullshit and you really wish it were healthy. I feel you, but it's never going to be true. These people just need to admit that their human ego is out of control and they want all the experts to tell them they're doing a good job. That's what they're looking for, okay? But it's nonsense. You're literally taking some data somewhere from someone that may have eaten some grains in the middle of winter to prevent themselves from starving to death during a time of food scarcity. And somehow you want to transfer that to your life, in which you're indulging daily in processed refined carbohydrates in America, where a surplus of food is available on every single corner. You think you're an active person because your Apple Watch told you you walked 10,000 steps, and we waste 40% of our food every year. This is just gross, people. Wake up. That's it. Please stop counting calories. Please stop starving yourself. Please stop starving yourself. Let me say that one again. Stop trying to stack intermittent fasting on top of your starvation diet and on top of your CrossFit workouts. Stop taking $400 a month of ridiculous supplements because your naturopath told you that you need them while they're getting a commission on the back end. Stop taking nutrition advice from the mainstream. Simply eat a species appropriate diet. Now, in a perfect world, this would be the default, but we all know that isn't the reality, and this is why Clovis exists, because my clients come to me, they look a lot like the person who ate the 2,500 calories of Pop-Tarts every day for a year. The metabolic dysfunction is significant, and it might not be enough to just switch to a species appropriate diet. We're going to have to track macros. We might have to use some other tools, specific tools, to get you back to baseline human health so we can eventually optimize, right? If there's anyone in the world you should work with to do that, that's me, all right? Work with over 1,500 people, I have 1,500 amazing success stories. And from where I'm sitting, the rest of the nutrition space is completely full of shit, and they aren't even willing to be honest about it. So if you're ready to dig in, let's just do a call to action right now. Go to iamclovis.com/start and let's work together. iamclovis.com/start. It's that simple. Please, please, please hear me when I say this. AMA 100. Food is not bad for you. 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 That's it. That's AMA 100, everybody. I would like to dig into comments and questions, see where you guys are at. It's AMA 100, so I'll hang out as long as you want me to. I'm sweating. It's hot. It's hot. These lights, everybody. That was AMA 100. I bet I got a lot of comments here. Let's see here. Yes, exactly, Judy. That's what I'm saying. So Judy says, because we were told too much makes you fat. Exactly. You were just told that overall caloric consumption makes you fat. Nothing could be further from the truth. I can tell you right now, I've done experiments where I've eaten 3,000 plus calories per day, and it's hard to gain weight, okay? This is not because I'm magically genetically gifted. This is because I was eating specific types of foods. If I tried that same 3,000 calories a day of Kraft macaroni and cheese, I'd be in real trouble, okay? Michelle, totally. Convenient snacks with catchy packaging and high protein, but so processed and lacking in micronutrients. We are all so brainwashed. I only came to this truth with all your education and the rabbit holes you've promoted me to take to do my own research. Yes, 100%. I have to do that. I have to get you guys to go deeper on this stuff because it's all too easy. Guys, do you really think that all these keto companies like love you and just want you to be the healthiest versions of yourself? Or do you think that they go, wow, I just looked up on Google and 30 million people search keto every single day. I'm going to make a keto product. Guys, again, I manufacture supplements for a living. I assure you, these people really don't care much about your health, okay? There are some companies doing it right and are also doing nutrition work on the back end, so I'm not saying that blanket statement. There are really good keto companies out there. Guess what? I've partnered with them inside of Clovis, so you know which companies these are. But guys, just because it says keto on it does not mean it's healthy. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, everybody. These are highly processed foods, like Michelle just said, that are micronutrient poor. It's crazy. Jackie, mind blown. Michelle, sad face. Don't be sad. Joanne, because people are afraid to challenge beliefs instilled in their subconscious. It makes them uncomfortable. I don't even think that it's that. I mean, it does make them uncomfortable. Challenging beliefs always makes people uncomfortable. But if we go back to like Paleolithic ancestral times, not being part of the tribe literally meant death. So I try to tell you guys this all the time. There is an evolutionary wiring in our brains. This is why Republicans will never understand Democrats. Guys, if you think either side of the political spectrum is 100% correct, you just, I got some oceanfront property in Arizona, I'll sell you, right? It's just, it's ridiculous. These are camps, these are tribes. This is why carnivore has gotten out of control, in my opinion, making fun of vegans. Vegans make fun of carnivores. It's all these camps. If there's one thing that I have learned from marketing through Clovis, it's that everybody makes decisions on emotions. You guys sit here and you're like, hey, can you send me the nutrition studies so I can show them to my husband so my husband will stop eating Pringles? Your husband doesn't care about nutrition studies. I promise you, your husband doesn't care about nutrition studies. So it's not only that we're dredging things up for people and we're trying to change their mind, their deeply instilled beliefs, but there's an evolutionary wiring within us, genetic wiring that tells us, oh no, if I go against the tribe, the big giant group, I'm over here all by myself, and all of a sudden I feel terrible. Guys, women, how many of you have been to Thanksgiving or Christmas or my Clovis clients, men and women, and you all of a sudden feel isolated? You're the only person there that's eating healthy and you feel isolated. I don't know why I can't get you guys to understand that nobody gives a shit about science and information. Nobody cares. It is all about emotion. The reason why Clovis is difficult for you is because you feel isolated. You are no longer part of the tribe and your brain tells you, I'm gonna die. There's a reason why I'm a fucking savage, everybody, because I spent the last 7 to 8 years of my life completely by myself in this, building the human that I am today, right? I literally can go survive in the wilderness and get my own food because I don't care about being a part of the tribe anymore. That's why I built the Clovis tribe. I was like, I'm gonna build a tribe of my people. So my best friends are all scattered around the globe and I gotta do video calls with them because I rejected what I was living in here, which is drunk musicians. That's what Nashville was. And I got made fun of a lot. When I first switched to paleo, go out to restaurants with people and not eat the bread and not drink beer anymore, I got made fun of a lot. A lot. It's isolating. You have to understand this is 100% emotional. 100% emotional. You're not going to change people's minds with facts. And I go through a whole podcast right there and just dismantle all of nutrition science. What do we even need the facts for anyway? This is literally emotion. Everybody makes decisions on emotions. You guys have to understand that, okay? What else we got? Cynthia, I love challenging people to challenge their beliefs on sodium too. Yes, it's difficult to do. Jackie, you can't make educated choices without education. Eat what you want, just know the truth of the consequences. Yes, I wrote a great article on this on the I Am Clovis blog, by the way, called Want to Lose Weight? Stop Lying to Yourself. I've been preaching self-awareness to you guys for 2 years now. That's everything. Stevie, a soundbite of all those things you just said are not food, needs to be blasted to the masses. Yeah, well, it will be. Don't worry. This is going to get chopped up into Instagram videos. You guys know that. Judy, thank you. Thank you, Judy. Thank you for being here, and thank you for listening to me. Cynthia, so much talk about food these days, yet so little talk about nutrition. Yeah, but again, that goes back to information. People don't want information. People want you to make them feel good. That's it. When people say that shit of like, well, there were some hunter-gatherers that ate 5% of their caloric intake was from grains. That means I can go to Logan's and eat the buttered fucking buns that they put out on the table. People literally just justifying their emotions. They want you to make them feel good. They want to, wait, you just told me I did something wrong? Oh no, I might be excluded from the tribe. Wait a second, what's it? You know, it's this ridiculous emotional thing. It's all emotion. I can spit information to people forever. Then, you know, most people don't take it. Clovis is not a huge company. Most people don't take this information. It's all about emotion. That's it, right? Annis, even if they did, food has been screwed with so much that it's nowhere near where it was 250,000 years ago. Exactly. That's why I use the 250,000 word term, because this eliminates literally most fruits and vegetables. It actually eliminates most fruits and vegetables, right? The fruits and vegetables as we have them today look nothing like they did in ancestral times at all, right? I mean, if you're looking for micronutrient density, plants are not the best way to go. They just aren't. It's just the way it is. That's why you guys hear me talk about, you know, I have a high protein diet according to the mainstream, and I eat organ meats and all these things, right? It's just, if we go back 250,000 years, food looks way, way different, okay? Katie, I've never had the issue of eating too much. I just forget to eat. Yeah, that's a big problem too. Could be issues with leptin and ghrelin, and that can have to do, again, like I said, a lot of people will be eating the food pyramid. They think they're eating healthy or clean or whatever, and then they're not eating enough. And this actually disrupts their hormones. This disrupts their leptin, disrupts their ghrelin, their hunger hormones get all out of whack. Their whole, basically the whole endocrine system gets really, really jacked up by this constant undernourishing, this malnourished state that you're in. And that can be really, really dangerous. So a good answer to that would be just choosing the most micronutrient dense foods. And that's the thing. Calories don't matter if you're, that's why, notice how it says nothing about calories here. Is it species appropriate? Is it nutrient dense? Because guys, if you go out and try to eat 40% of your calories from protein, you're gonna be super full. You're not gonna be hungry, and you're gonna be getting a boatload of micronutrients if you're getting it from animal proteins, right? That's why if you just load up on ribeyes and organ meats, you're gonna have all the nutrition that you need and actually have to eat less than you think you do. You won't be hungry, right? If you maximize each gram of food that you eat, if you're maximizing for nutrient density, and again, I'm releasing a podcast with Marty Kendall, who created a whole system for optimizing for nutrient density. That podcast will be out soon. That's the thing. You don't have to eat as much as you think you do. Judy, I ate salads for a year and gained a ton of weight. Now I know better. Yes, you do. Absolutely. Judy, I do not care anymore what everyone thinks. I now know better. Yes, that's the thing, is a lot of people really do care. A lot of people really do care. It takes you a long time to get to a point where you don't care, you know? And that's the thing. Yeah, Jackie, dude, those old friends of yours, though. Jackie, we figured this out. I think I've known you for like 13 years or something like that. It's like I have virtually none of the same friends from them. I have like my dear friends from back home that I grew up with literally since I was 8 years old. I have them, and then I have this whole new tribe of these amazing people. It's just incredible, right? You have to level up your tribe. You have to do that. That's a really important part of this. And again, people write me all the time, can you tell my father-in-law that I'm not going to kill my kid feeding him whole eggs? No, I have no interest in talking to your father-in-law. You tell that dick to leave me alone. I don't want to talk to that guy. Sorry, not interested. I'm interested in my tribe, the people that want to change, right? I'm not interested in debating people. Artina, such power and truth, 100%. Cynthia, I started noticing how often people say a food is healthy or that they're eating healthy. Turns out people label 90% of processed food as healthy. Yes, 100%. My mom said this to me. Well, I won't tell that story. I won't get my mom in trouble, personal stuff, whatever. But like, yeah, people will just be like, look at these. This is delicious. It's like some kind of candy keto nonsense, something that's like 100% sugar, right? Or even something that's not keto, like loaded with sugar. And they're like, these are healthy. It said healthy on the box. I'm going to eat 6. Crazy. Absolutely crazy, right? Jackie, 17 years? Damn, I'm old. I'm old as shit. I'm 33 years old. This is crazy. I got to go to Thailand again, rethink my life. Close to death. Just kidding. I'm going to live to be probably 200 years old. I don't know. Mike Segro, yeah, I'm sick of that shit. People just analyze everything in front of them, then they mock what you eat. 100%. You guys, you gotta know this going in. You guys are trying to fight battles with facts. I really wish that all of you could see me at a dinner table with a bunch of people who are unhealthy, because it will be very uneventful. It won't be what you think it is. Now, the other tricky thing is, if you're still overweight, people are always going to challenge you in what you eat, right? If you're 30 pounds, 40 pounds, 50 pounds overweight and you're doing Clovis, it's going to be really hard because people are going to judge you. Not a lot of people judge me on what I eat because I look the way I do and I can kill them with my bare hands. So there's that, I just don't get challenged all that much. Let's just be honest about it, right? So yes, it's going to be a little bit harder for you guys, but it was hard for me in the beginning too. 7-8 years ago when I started paleo, I didn't even know jujitsu yet. I wasn't a purple belt. I couldn't. I was a boxer. That was it. So there was still that. But anyway, I'm just being silly now, guys. Don't fight people. Don't ever do that, right? What else we got? Jenna, in the beginning, I really struggled with needing to defend my way when being questioned. This is huge. I'm so glad you're saying this. But now I say, okay, cool, and go along with my way, eating my bacon and beef. No more stress to feel the need to be right. But again, that need that you were feeling to be right is your ego. That's not theirs. This is why I talk about ego so much, is everybody thinks of ego as arrogance. Insecurity is ego. Low self-worth is ego. Emotional eating is ego. Ego manifests itself in a ton of different ways. So that was your ego screaming. And again, I'm not part of the tribe. They're judging my every decision. Oh my God, they're judging the food on my plate. I'm going to be left out in the woods by myself and I'm going to die. That's your like little lizard brain trying to survive. It's literally all just built on emotion. It's crazy, right? Jackie, that would make me old too. Well, you're pretty old. I mean, let's just be honest. We're like super old. I'm 33 years old. I was like way old. Eventually the fam gets over it though. Yes, 100%. People get, I mean, that's the thing. I just eat the way that I eat and whatever. And it's always hilarious to me too. Like if I go out, like my favorite place here is a place called Barcelona. Barcelona has a bunch of tapas and they have amazing charcuterie boards. Or I went to a place called Urban Market. They had a charcuterie board, all pasture raised, all grass fed, all the meats in the charcuterie board, all the cheeses are raw and all the cheeses are grass-fed, made in-house. Even the chips on the charcuterie board were all made in-house, right? There was blueberries on the board, and there I am nibbling blueberries, eating some cheese, trying these homemade crackers because I'm out in community with someone that I care about very much, having a moment in time with them. I'm drinking biodynamic wine, which they serve at Urban Market, which is amazing. So I'm drinking biodynamic wine, eating some cheese, having a bite of a cracker, eating some blueberries, and people are like, oh, you're the Clovis guy. Oh, look at, he's eating cheese. Oh my God, you don't eat cheese. This is absolutely none of your business, and I could not care less. I do exactly what I want to do in every moment. And so I tell you guys, I am Clovis. I am free. Nobody gets to say anything about what I put in my body except for me. Now, if I was a type 2 diabetic, I would probably rethink that. If I didn't look the way that I do, if I wanted my abs to be nicer, maybe I would think about these things a little differently, but I don't really care about those things anymore. I can move my body well. I train every single day. I love it. I love working out. I love what I eat. I love enjoying life. I told you guys, I control 99% of my diet. When I'm by myself, my diet is perfect. Nothing bad in it, right? Nothing. Nothing that's not species appropriate except black coffee, right? When I'm out in community, I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to pick the best restaurants that are pasture raised and grass fed, and the wine's going to be biodynamic, and the blueberries that I nibbled 3 of are 100% organic. Get out of here with that shit. You know, it's like that's the way that I live my life. So I don't want to hear this from people. It's just, I don't care. I mean, you know, it's silly. People are always going to judge you no matter what you do. They're always going to judge you. Annis, that's my problem. But the fact that I've lost 17 pounds and 5 inches in my waist in a month is amazing. 17 pounds and 5 inches in a month. You guys hear that on the podcast, all you podcast listeners? People kill for those kinds of results. It's crazy. Congratulations, Annis. That's awesome. You're doing great. Jenna, yes, ego was a huge change for me. Megan, I just want to say that I admire your passion. Thank you for sharing this with us. Yes, thank you for putting up with my screaming and profanity because I am very, very passionate about this. I did not start this company for money. My money is totally taken care of. I'm a professional musician. It's all good. I'm super comfy. I literally only do this because of passion. This is the entire reason that I'm here. So I know that it comes across, and I just I go nuts. Prosciutto, bro. Yeah, Mike, what? We got to talk, man. I want to see you with consistency before you hit your charcuterie board. Don't make me call you out, brother. I'll do that right now. Stacy, what was the app you were talking about the other day where we could ask you questions during the day? That is called Justin in Your Pocket. I don't know if the listing should be public. If you go to iamclovis.com, there's a little search bar, and just search for Justin in Your Pocket. Let me see. I could probably get it for you right now, actually. I think. Yeah, so Justin in Your Pocket is a service that I restrict to just 12 people per month. But it is basically, I'm on call for you, essentially. So there are normal business hours. And when you sign up, I walk everybody through this when they sign up. But what happens is you have access to me through an app called Marco Polo, which is basically like a walkie-talkie, like a video walkie-talkie. You could literally be like, hey, I'm about to feed my kid breakfast. Like, what should I give the kid breakfast? Justin, what's up? And I'll get the video and I'll respond to you in real time. We can have real-time conversations. That's called Justin in Your Pocket because I'm literally in your pocket on your cell phone. So that's the app I was talking about. What else we got? Cynthia, thank you for saying could not care less instead of could. Yeah, well, I would not make that mistake. And Cynthia, you got to get over the grammar Nazi thing. Let's change your life for the better. Okay, we really gotta work on this. I'm trying to tell you, you gotta let shit go, right? What else we got? There's Justin in Your Pocket. Beck, my favorite Justin quote. What? Yes, I do that all the time. What are we doing? This is ridiculous. Species appropriate diet, nutrient dense. That's it. Get over yourself, everybody. Crazy. But anyway, you guys have any more comments or anything? What time is it? 9:19. I got my sauna waiting for me. I'm home. I have not been home in this house since before I went to Mexico and was arrested and put in jail, in a jail cell for 36 hours and escaped across the border. My brother keeps telling me not to talk about this because he's a lawyer, but whatever, I don't care. I didn't like the way things were going, didn't like their government, so I escaped across the border. Fuck you. Sorry, profanity, I know. Here we are, guys. It's just me. It's Clovis. I love you guys. I love doing this work. This is AMA 100. I can't believe it. Thank you guys for being here over and over and over for me every single week. Thank you for being a part of my tribe, letting me do this work. All of you that have bought custom nutrition plans, thank you so much for trusting my information and changing your lives based on the things that I teach you. It's amazing. I love this. That is such a giant honor. And then people in the academy and the Facebook groups, when they post pictures of their kids, when you guys post pictures of your kids eating Clovis, you cannot know what that does to my heart. I cannot tell you. I got in this game partly because of my niece being born terminally ill. This is a huge, really, very hard thing that my family still deals with every day, I got into this with passion. I'll stay in it for passion. We're going to do 100 more AMAs. We're going to do 500 more AMAs. I don't know how many AMAs we'll do. And I have amazing guests coming up, even more and more guests being booked because you guys I now have over 110 5-star reviews on the Clovis Culture podcast. The more hundreds of reviews I get, the better guests I can get, better deals on things. I'm going to have a deal coming up for you guys on the 8 Sleep Bed, the pod. That's crazy. The greatest thing I've ever heard of in my life, possibly the best product ever. It's incredible. Beck, off topic, and I might have missed it, but will the Mexico debacle affect your future travel? It'll affect my future travel to Mexico, and I am trying to sort that out because I would like to be able to go back to Mexico. That would be cool. I don't think it will impact travel elsewhere. I did talk to a private security guy about this just the other day. So anyway, I'm going to figure this stuff out. My brother keeps telling me not to give too many details, but you're my tribe, and I love you, and I don't really think that they're listening to my podcast, to be honest. But yeah, it could get sticky. So I'm just being really careful because I was thinking about going back out to Thailand in March, literally a month from now, going back out to Thailand. But I got to figure some stuff out first. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. And I do have an episode, a Just Justin episode coming out called What I Learned in Mexican Prison. Really happy with that one. I think I wrote 8,800 words or something like that on the whole topic. It was a really, really amazing experience for me. It actually was a really, really amazing experience. I learned a lot and I'm very grateful for it. So I'm grateful for all of you and the way that you guys handled it when I was there. It was really, the outpouring of love was staggering. And I know I've talked about that ad nauseum. You guys can go listen to AMA number 98, Escape from Mexico. Check that out. So yeah, I think that's it, guys. I'm going to go hop in the sauna, then take an ice cold shower and get some sleep. This is AMA 100. Ask Me Anything, episode number 100. Food is not bad for you. I really want to get this in you guys' head. It's really that simple. It's that simple. Yeah, Jackie, we hit 110 reviews right now on the Clovis Culture podcast. Also, you guys, I made it super easy. You can just go to ratethispodcast.com/Clovis. ratethispodcast.com/Clovis. Just go there and it'll tell you exactly how to leave a review for the Clovis Culture Podcast. It is very, very helpful. Every review counts. This is helpful. Thank you. Click the love button, click the happy button, the smiley button, the like button, the thumbs up button, everything. This helps the Facebook algorithm. You can click the share button. This is a public video, so you can share this. You can share this video on your timeline. You can tag people in it, and they'll be able to see the video. So the more sharing, the better. Just make the algorithms happy. Click all the like buttons on all the Clovis stuff that you ever see across the board on all the social media platforms. Follow me on Instagram. Everything is at The Clovis Culture. Subscribe on YouTube. That's really helpful. YouTube.com/The Clovis Culture. I'm literally at The Clovis Culture on everything. Facebook.com/The Clovis Culture, Instagram, YouTube, everything. The more you interact with me on all these platforms, the more the algorithms like me, the more I get shown to strangers, and the bigger and bigger Clovis gets. We can really scale this thing, really change a lot of lives. New products coming out. The Clovis electrolytes are coming soon, so that'll be great. And again, fantastic podcast guests coming up. Send me your ideas for podcast guests. I'll get in touch with them. Send me your ideas for products that you'd like to get a discount on, and I can partner with them as a brand, like I just did with 8 Sleep and the pod. So yeah, if you check out 8 Sleep, I will have a discount coming up for the pod bed, which is amazing. I'm super excited about that. So anyway, I love you guys. AMA number 100, food is not bad for you. I am Justin. I love you dearly. Thank you so much for letting me live my passion every single day. I love this work, and I will continue it as long as I am humanly able to do so. So I love you guys. If you want to work with me, I am clovis.com/start. Have an amazing night, everybody. Happy 100 episodes, and here to 100 more. Love you guys. Bye-bye.